Hello and welcome back to another episode of Into the 99, where we've got 99 cards, because Commander's number one. I'm one of your hosts, Daniel. I'm joined with Slothy. Slothy, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well, thanks. I've been excited for this episode for a while. How are you doing?
I am good and the same. We've been talking a lot about this Commander, like just in our group chat and stuff, and even when we were starting, I didn't realize you had built so many. So there's going to be a lot of deck lists for this in the description of the episode for sure. I've got like 4 built. You have 3 built or something like that.
Yeah,
and it's not stopping. It's it's one of like the best commanders of the year. Like I want to jump right into it because worst case we're through our list fast and we talk about some of the next lists because I quickly did a scroll through. They're all pretty different. But before I even get into it, I have to go back into my small rant just a little bit. This was a terribly put together pre-con. It's we're talking Ms Bumbleflower. Obviously, I love this card. It's great. But you can't build a group hug deck and like advertise it as like, oh, here's a group hug theme, and then give me 17 group hug-ish cards, one of them generating poison counters. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that was really a weird inclusion. And the first cut in when I picked up the pre-con, because it was just really weird. It didn't want to be group hug, but it wanted to be group hug.
Right? What did you think?
+1/+1 counters, but it didn't want to be.
That's what I was going to say. Is
Sorry.
Like now that you've gone through it and stuff, what did you think of the pre-con itself? Like before you changed it?
It's one of the pre-cons of all time, I would say. It playing through it as it was once, it was okay. It was doing a lot of things. It was still able to eke out a Triskaidekaphile win, so it can draw a bunch of cards. I never had to worry about that, but it wasn't feeling too group huggy.
It just it had a weird feel to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, let's start off, I guess, with just what this commander is. There's Ms Bumbleflower, obviously one of my favorite commanders. The price is not actually reflective of what the anime version is right now. On the Architect, it says it's $120.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I wish. Serialized Mrs. Bumbleflower's coming through. So this commander is a 1/1 green, 1 white, 1 blue for a 1/5 rabbit citizen, which is not horrible stats for that. It seems like it feels a little weak until you get back into its other abilities. So it has vigilance, which is awesome because you can swing every turn with it and never worry about it. Whenever you cast a spell, target opponent draws a card, which is awesome, like favor throughout the table, really easy to make deals with. And then you put a 1/1 counter on target creature. That's not target creature an opponent controls. It's any creature. That creature gains flying. If it's the second time it's resolved this turn, you draw 2 cards. I see this as just like such a monster engine.
Oh, 100%.
I give opponents cards all the time in the form of like Howling Mine and stuff, right? So giving one player 1 card isn't a big deal, especially when you're like, I don't know how you played it, but I always just keep buffing Mrs. Bumbleflower.
Yeah, I did mostly the same.
Yeah, right. It's fun to make the thick rabbit, right? So we've got my theme obviously is group hug. It's how the deck should have been built, in my opinion, around an actual group hug theme. It's not a super budget deck. Mine, like the first one we're going through. It's $312, which is kind of, but it's very, very not salty. It's pretty low on the salt summary. Let's, I guess, jump right into artifacts and stuff. I'll take us away with our first one. We have an Arcane Signet because I want to cast as many spells as I can. 2 mana. We tap, add 1 mana of our commander's identity. Simple.
Then there is Coveted Jewel. 6 mana. When it enters, you can draw 3 cards. Tap it for 3 mana of any one color. And whenever one or more creatures an opponent controls attacks you and aren't blocked, that player draws 3 cards and gains control of Coveted Jewel and untaps it.
I've always liked that. Sorry, I was turning you up there a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I've always liked the Coveted Jewel has been, to me, it's just a fun group hug staple. It makes people want to attack a little bit. I think it's a little better than Monarch because it gives you that immediate draw on your turn. It gives you mana to play some of what you get. I like it. Having our commander have flying, we can pretty easily evade people, so we can get it back no problem. We have a we've got a Felwar Stone, 2 mana. You add 1 mana of any color a land an opponent controls could produce. That's just simple ramp.
Yeah. Then there is Girper Orrery. 4 mana. Each player may play an additional land on each of their turns. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand, that player draws 3 cards.
I wasn't able to trigger that one a single time, the no cards in hand one. I was filling everyone's hand all the time.
I mean, it's not a terrible problem to have.
Right? It is nice. The extra land every turn, especially when you're playing a deck that is dumping lands out. Nice.
Yeah.
The next one's been my favorite card in Mrs. Bumbleflower. Making copies of Mrs. Bumbleflower just gets astronomically problematic. It's problematic on every part of it. This is all I do. There's better creatures to do it on, I'm sure, at some points, but not in this deck. Helm of the Host. So 4 colorless. It's a legendary artifact equipment. Beginning of combat on your turn, you create a token that's a copy of a equipped creature, except that token isn't legendary. The token gains haste, equip 5. It just becomes really, really nice to draw 7 cards or 8 cards every turn, every go around. It's I play Mrs. Bumbleflower similar to the way that I built the Nadu list, where I want to trigger that ability each turn. I misunderstood Nadu when I initially saw it. I was just already why would they even print something like this? But then they did it in group hug fashion, which I like a lot. At least there's no dumping lands in. But you can get the amount of counters you can end up throwing on a creature. It gets to a point where you can, you cast 1 spell and you put 5/1 counters on something. We only have to kill 20 commander damage kills people, right? So it gets fast. It gets pretty bad pretty quick.
Okay. I didn't have Helm of the Host in mind, but I might have to throw it in there.
Just anything that can copy Mrs. Bumbleflower. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I've got just a ton of cheap sheet ramp in here too.
Yeah, I'm liking that. We've got not Helm of the Host, Mind Stone, 2 mana. You can tap it for a colorless, or pay 1 and tap it to sacrifice it and draw a card.
Not bad. Traditional Soul Ring, obviously. I like a Soul Ring in a deck. It's 1 colorless. You tap to add 1, or tap to add 2 colorless. I don't know if you've seen this next one, so I'm excited for you to see it.
Yeah. We got Tangleroot, 3 mana. Whenever a player plays a creature spell, that player adds green to their mana pool. I have not seen that. I like that.
I like this. It ramps a little bit. It's kind of nice if you've got a creature-heavy deck. It's really nice. I started playing this a lot in Elves, and a lot of times it's just generating me enough to spit my whole hand out. It's a pretty, it's a pretty cool little one. But again, extra mana. I also run it in my Yurlock deck when I'm trying to mana burn people and they can't spend their mana. I enjoy that greatly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We have a tempting contract because I like to group hug. Weird thing that this wasn't in the group hug list. It's a good spot to have reprinted it. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent can choose to create a treasure token. For each opponent who does, you create a treasure token. Pretty decent.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. Then we've got Thought Vessel, 2 mana. You have no maximum hand size. Tap to add colorless.
No max hand size is very important in the deck.
Mm-hmm. I was actually surprised that you don't have Decanter of Endless Water in this one.
I'm out of them. That's the problem.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah, fair enough.
My creature section's a little... Yeah, let's do my creature section. Why not? I ended up leaving that poison one in because I see so many people playing treasure tokens in my pod. Mm-hmm. So I left it. It's not as group hug as you would think, but we're leaving it. We start with this Bloodroot Apothecary, 2 and a green, not a group hug card, by the way. It's a 3/3 Squirrel Druid with Toxic 2. But anything that has Toxic doesn't have group hug, even I can't be it's group hug adjacent. When it enters, you and target opponent each create a treasure token, which is nice. And then whenever an opponent sacks a non-creature token, they get 2 poisons. Mm-hmm. It's not a nice ability.
I mean, it's really weird to me that this one was in the group hug precon. I feel like if any, it should have been in the the Offspring one was green.
I think the Squirrel precon.
I don't even think this should have been. This shouldn't have been in the that one where it makes sense.
Yeah, right. It's just a weird inclusion.
They just messed up. Yeah. Next up, we've got Bloom Tender, 1 and a green for a 1/1 Elf Druid. Tap it for each color among permanents you control. Add 1 mana of that color.
Decent little ramp in our deck.
Yeah.
I like running this next one as much as I can. It's just fun to play. It's Serdan the Shipwright. It's 3, 1 blue, 1 green. It has Vigilance. It's a 3/4 elf noble. It has Secret Council. Whenever Círdan the Shipwright enters or attacks, each player secretly votes for a player. The votes are revealed. Each player draws a card for each vote they received, and each player who received no votes puts a permanent into play.
Yeah, this one's was this one in one of the recons for Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was in the elf one.
I haven't seen this one too much. Makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, and I like it.
Then we've got then we've got Fabro Elder, 1 green-white for a 0/0 Treefolk Druid with Vigilance. Gets +1/+1 for each color among permanents you control. And then for each color among permanent you control, you can tap it to add 1 mana of that color.
Yeah, again, just the same kind of ramp as Bloom Tender, just a little more expensive, but we want to cast spells lots, so we want as much ramp as we can get. The next one, I really don't know how I feel about it in the deck. Every time it always comes across my list of things to cut, but every time I've played this deck, I've played it and got to use it. So it's. I wish the gift, the meaning of gift, was a little broader.
Yes.
I feel like that's a rule 0. Gift it a little better. Every time I give you something, I draw 2. Hook me up. But it's a hamster citizen, Jolly Gerbils. I love the artwork of it. 1 and a white for a 2/3 hamster citizen. Whenever you give a gift, you draw a card.
Like it. Then we've got Jor-El, 1 and a green for 1/2 legendary human druid. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 2/2 green cat creature token. And 4 green until end turn, creatures you control have base power and toughness XX, where X is the number of cards in your hand. This is one that I'm quite glad that they did include with the precon.
Oh, powerhouse card.
Mm-hmm.
Like it puts in a pretty crazy amount of work. We have a Jungle Wayfinder, because again, I like to actually build it as a group hug deck. Another weird thing to have not included. It's 2 and a green for a 3/3 elf warrior. When it enters, each player can search for a basic land, reveal it, put it into their hand, then shuffle. Nice group ramp for everyone.
Yeah, nice and friendly. Then we've got Keeper of Progenitus, 3 and a green for a 1/3 elf druid. Whenever a player taps a mountain, forest, or plains for mana, that player adds 1 mana to their mana pool of any type that land produced.
I like to mana double a little bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Helping everybody out.
Right? Quain was another great include in the deck, but a really weird flex to make a better art Quain and then not give it to us.
Yeah.
That kind of sucked. But we have Quain, Iterant Meddler. 1. It's a 1/3 rabbit wizard for 1 white, 1 blue. Tap, each player may draw a card, then each player who drew a card this way gains 1 life. I really like Quain. I have like 3 Quain decks.
Mm-hmm.
One's a combo deck. And
Quain.
Yeah, like my one is a combo deck with the mind over matter kind of thing where I tap and untap nonstop. It's problematic, but I just love Quain.
Yeah. And then we've got Lauren of the Third Path, 2 and a white for 2/1 legendary human artificer with vigilance. When Lauren enters, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment, tap it, tab you, and target opponent each draw a card. This could be another fun little target for your Helm of the Host.
Having multiple of those is a problem. Yeah, Lauren's great. The next one too, I was ashamed that they didn't put into this deck. Ashamed. I was mortified. They put in the what's it called? The Baird, Steward of Argive, where they're like, oh, you have to no, put in Nils. It was so much more on theme for what the deck was with its count. It's terrible choice, oversight on their side. But Nils, I love putting Nils into everything I can. Nils Discipline Enforcer is 2 and a white for a 2/2 human cleric. At the beginning of your end step, for each player, that includes you put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature that player controls. And then each creature with 1 or more counters on it can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless they pay X, where X is the number of counters on that creature. It gets out of hand really, really fast with Nils every time. Because if I just don't want your one big thing, like if you have like that new Ulamog out and it has Annihilator 20 or whatever the counters are on it, all right, pay 20 to attack me.
Yeah.
Do it. Right? I really, really like Nils.
Yeah.
The ability to further put 1/1 counters on things, like more on theme. Like for as far as the 1/1 counters did, only Mrs. Bumbleflower really gives you the ability to share the counters around, right? And that's not really group huggy.
Yeah. No, I think having some other things were definitely needed. Like the one complaint I'm going to have that I'm going to bring up. I don't think Colonian Hydra made sense.
I don't know, why is it in the deck? Right? Like it's just a terrible
Put
inclusion.
Mills in instead of Colonian Hydra. Yeah, like it does stuff with +1/+1 counters.
Well, it's so high mana cost, like for when, and it's not on the theme of what you're doing. Yeah. The weird. I was going to say the weird thing to me was that they, Mrs. Bumbleflower's ability triggers on a second spell each turn, and they put like no synergy in that except for like the Joel Rail.
Yeah. It really weird deck.
Yeah, right.
But next up we've got Noble Hierarch. That's a single green for a 0/1 human druid with Exalted. Tap it to add green, white, or blue.
Yeah, can't go wrong with ramp. I actually love this next card. It's really stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't bring myself to cut it. I wish it was a little smaller of a cost, but it's still pretty cool. The Octomancer is 3/1 green, 1 blue. I already am looking for more of these with I'm already looking for more of these for like Adrix and Nev kind of decks. It's just such a cool card. But Octomancer is a 3/3 frog druid that has Gift and Octopus, which is the funniest thing. You can promise an opponent a gift as you cast it. If you do, when it enters, they create an 8/8 blue octopus creature token. I love this. At the beginning of each end step, you create a token that's a copy of target creature token that entered the battlefield this turn. I just like this deck. I just like this card. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, having a nice little 8/8 would be not too bad.
In the Adrix and Nev, Bramble Sovereign is the one that I was so excited to put this in. Bramble Sovereign would have been a great include in this group hug version or in any group hug version. I'm out of Bramble Sovereigns. But Bramble Sovereign and Octomancer go so hard. The same with Fairy Artisans. If somebody like has you know what I mean? There's so many good ones.
Mm-hmm. Next up here, we've got the Orzhov Advocist. 2 and a white for a 1/4 human advisor. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player may put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature they control. If a player does that, creatures that player controls can attack you or planeswalkers you control until your next turn.
I like it. Again, still triggers on you as well.
Yeah.
So you can put them on to your Mrs. Bumbleflower. Huge. Mrs. Big Bumbleflower. Am I right? We have Scholarship Sponsor as well. Another great group hug one. It is a 3/3 human advisor for 3 and a white. When it enters the battlefield, each player who controls fewer lands than the player who controls the most lands searches the library for a number of basic lands less than or equal to the difference, puts them onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffles. It's a great catch-up card.
Yeah. Then we've got Selvala, Explorer Returned. 1 green and a white for 2/4 Legendary Elf Scout with Parlay. Tap it. Each player reveals the top card of their library. For each non-land card revealed this way, you add a green to your mana pool and gain 1 life. Then each player draws a card.
It's been an MVP.
I'm a big fan of this card.
MVP group hug card for me for a long time.
No kidding. Yeah.
We also have a card I think, again, was criminal to not include in the deck was Tidal Barracuda. It is 3 and a blue for a 3/4 fish. This is the true fish gift. Any player may cast spells as though they had flash, and your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. Yeah, so you take us away with this next one here, Slothy.
Sure. Next up, we've got Toxicrin. 3 and a green for a 2/4 Tyrannid with Reach and Death Touch, and a Hypertoxic Miasma. All lands have tap to add 1 mana of any color and lose all other abilities.
I love the land fix for everyone.
I really got to pick up some of these.
Especially for how cheap it is. It's pretty cool, and like it's nice that it wrecks like people's strong utility lands that are problems.
Yeah.
And it just fixes it for everyone.
Strip mines and all that, or
your Cabal coffers and your stuff like that, like those kind of combos. Not in here.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we have the Triskaidekaphile, like you said. It is just a nice alternate win con to keep there.
Yeah.
I think it's nice. So it's a 1/3 human wizard. You have no max hand size. It's for 1 and a blue. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have exactly 13 cards in your hand, you win the game. And then it has a mana sink to draw a card, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was quite happy that they included this one in there. At least.
Yeah, right. Let's do enchantments next, I guess.
Sure. I'll start us off here. I absolutely love this first one. We've got Communal Brewing, 2 and a green. When it enters, any number of target opponents each draw a card. Put an ingredient counter on Communal Brewing, then put an ingredient counter on it for each card drawn this way. Whenever you cast a creature spell, that creature enters with X additional +1/+1 counters, where X is the number of ingredient counters on communal brewing.
I really like that card. I want to start picking it up for some other decks too, like Tanazir. But I love the artwork of it. It looks so silly.
Yeah. I just really, really like the art on this entire set.
I agree. It's just too nice. Let's look at this fall from favor here. I like to put this into basically every one of the decks that I can right now. Because just a cheap way to introduce Monarch, and it is fun to tap people's things down. It's an aura enchantment for 2 and a blue. When it enters, you tap enchanted creature and you become the Monarch, which is great. And then the enchanted creature doesn't untap unless that player is the Monarch, which is pretty hard.
I like it. Sorry.
No worries.
Then we've got the Leyline of Anticipation. 2 double blue. If it's in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on the battlefield, and you may cast spells as though they had flash. It's another way to trigger Ms Bumbleflower on other people's turns.
I find flash so important in this deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much so.
As well, the next one. I don't know why this isn't in the deck. Like, why would they not include it? The deck is supposed to be like a cast 2 spells a turn deck based on what the commander does. We've got Monk class. It is a white and a blue for an enchantment class. The first part of it is the second spell you cast each turn is 1 less to cast, which is awesome. Should be in every one of these decks. You level it up again for white and a blue. When it becomes level 2, return up to 1 target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Great for triggering another ETB if you want more draw or something. Also great for just small piece of removal. And then 1 white, 1 blue. Yeah. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library for as long as you it's exiled. Can't talk today. You may cast it from exile as long as you've cast another spell this turn. So another just engine to keep you going.
Okay. I might have to throw this one in. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I like that. But next up, we've got Noble Heritage. 1 and a white for legendary enchantment background. Commander creatures you own have, when this creature enters the battlefield and at the beginning of your upkeep, each player may put 2+1/+1 counters on a creature they control. For each opponent who does, you gain protection from that player until your next turn.
Yeah. I always find that card gives you protection more often than you think.
Oh, 100%. If you can't attack one person, you can still bonk 2 others.
Yeah, right? I like it. And like I said, especially like the fact that people can't, you have protection from that opponent is great. Like, you can't be targeted. Like, it's just a nice use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that card a lot. We have a Rites of Flourishing as well, which again is another great card. It is 2 and a green. This one was in the deck, right? With new artwork too. Let me get it to reflect the actual artwork that's in the deck now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, there we go. So at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card, and each player may play an additional land on each of their turns.
Solid. Then we've got the Shadow of the Second Sun. 4 double blue for an aura. Enchant player. At the beginning of enchanted player's post-combat main phase, there's an additional beginning phase after this phase.
I like it. Yeah, so the beginning phases, end step happens after an extra untap, upkeep, and draw. So you don't get another chance to cast spells, really, but I want my mana free.
Yeah.
And I like to draw
it's
again.
Like Seedborn Muse at home almost.
It's good for different things. It's another one that it's another one of my maybe cuts. I really do like it, but it has a better home in some of my other versions of the deck, as I'm sure we'll see after. Simic Ascendancy is another card that I think is chopping block, because it does too much. It's got too much like I win out of the blue potential.
Yeah. That's fair.
Like it's just so fast to it's so fast to get a win off when you have a mana sink for it. And if you're triggering Mrs. Bumbleflower, like the way that I like to try trigger it is I'm going to do it twice a turn every time, right? So that's going to be 8 times every go around. That's like 2 go arounds go around on the tables, and then Simic Ascendancy wins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wins quite fast.
Yeah, right. It's definitely a nice one. I'm gonna take the next one too here. I also really like this Tenuous Truce. It's just been a very, very good one to me as well. 1 and a white, enchant opponent. At the beginning of enchanted opponent's end step, you and that player each draw a card. Again, good way to make buddies. And when you attack an enchanted opponent or a planeswalker, or they do vice versa, you sack the truce. I like it.
Yeah, I don't mind that one. Our final enchantment here is Wizard Class. It is a single blue. You have no maximum hand size. 2 and a blue to level it up. When it becomes level 2, you draw 2 cards. And 4 and a blue to level it to 3. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control.
Honestly, if you have the mana, that's not a bad thing to get that final level up.
Yeah, 100%. You're going to be drawing quite a few cards.
I also found out recently as a bummer that you can't proliferate classes. They don't get, there's not a counter on them. I always thought it was a counter. Yeah, I thought it was like level up counters because that's how we've seen this traditional format before.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just
but not so much.
Yeah, you definitely can't. It was very nice that people pointed that out. A few people pointed out in the comments recently. And it was a cool thing to learn because I've always I would have let anyone level them up as that before because I just didn't bother reading it. I just looked at the layout and was like, okay, cool. No level counters, no level up. You get nothing. Let's get into our instance here. We have a pretty small instance section, 15, but that's still huge for me. We have Blessed Respite as my first one. Yeah, that is
like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, right. We've got a Blessed Respite, 1 and a green. Target player shuffles their graveyard into their library. I can't talk today. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. I like it. I just love this card.
Nice little group fog.
I just like that it hoses graveyard players so frequently, and it makes me happy. Mm-hmm. Makes me happy for them to despair.
Monster. Next up, we've got Dawn Charm. 1 and a white. You can choose one. Prevent all combat damage that will be dealt this turn. Regenerate target creature, or counter target spell that targets you.
It generally puts in a lot of work. Just I like that counter target spells part as well.
Mm-hmm. And you can kind of trick people a little bit. Oh, you've only got white and a green up. They couldn't possibly have a counter spell.
Yeah, couldn't possibly. Yeah.
Surprise.
We've got our
Sherman knows the feeling of that one.
Yeah, exactly. The Mana Tithe is just dirty. I took Mana Tithe out of one of these lists actually. I've got a stack of those Mana Tithes. I went through boxes and I was pulling them out, and sure, that's the problem. Sherman kept telling me like, "Oh yeah, it's funny to use counters and other spells," and it is true. People, you will really hurt people with those spells that they're not expecting. I love it. Mm-hmm. We've got a Frantic Search.
Yeah, 100%.
It's another one that's just great for triggering your 2 spell, a turn cap, 2 and a blue. You draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards, untap 3 lands. So basically just a free spell, the way we're doing it, free spell and shuffle through. A lot of times I'm throwing away lands with this because I've got so many in my hand already.
Yeah, that's fair. Next up, I love this art. We've got Generous Gift, 2 and a white. Destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green elephant creature token.
Yeah. It's just a great piece of removal.
Yeah.
And the artwork was too good to... There's a few cards in here that I wanted to take out for not being group hug enough, but then they had really cool artwork, and I was like, well, they've got to stay in this version. This is my mid-range version, you know? It's it's more chill, it's fun. It's got a little removal, it's got a little of everything.
See, it's group hug because everybody gets to look at it's group hug because everyone gets to look at nice art with you.
Yeah, right. We have an Illusionist Gambit. 2 double blue, you cast it only during the declare blocker step on an opponent's turn. Remove all attacking creatures from combat and untap them. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Each of those creatures attacks this combat if able, and they can't attack you or a planeswalker you control. It's really nice to trigger people's extra combat stuff and just make buddies that way, but it is nice to also keep things away from you.
Yeah, 100%. Like the Asian player is really going to love you after this one.
Or someone with Annihilator, like...
Oh, yeah. You monster.
Right?
Next up, we've got Intellectual Offering, 4 and a blue. Choose an opponent. You and that player each draw 3 cards. Choose an opponent. Untap all non-land permanents you control and all non-land permanents that player controls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds a bit more group huggy.
I like it. They, like I said, they put some weird ones into the deck, and I didn't want to change. I tried to not change the pre-con version of the deck too aggressively, but I still changed it pretty hard. Mm-hmm. I did really like this one, this Long Rivers pull.
Yeah.
I found it fun, just the gift. I wish there was more gift cards. It's a double blue. You gift a card, so they draw a card. You counter target creature spell if the gift was promised instead. Counter target spell. Obviously, a counter spell is going to be a better use in that spot, but I just like the theme of this more.
Yeah, 100%. And it's got a nice little frog on it.
It does have a nice little frog on it. You get it.
Next one we've got here does not have a nice little frog on it, but we've got Mutational Advantage, 1 green and a blue. Permanents you control with counters on them gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Prevent all damage that will be dealt to those permanents this turn and proliferate.
It does technically have a rat. The rat's in his hand, so it's basically Bloomburrow.
It's basically Bloomburrow, yeah.
I've been running this card ever since I saw it in your deck. I went out and bought a bunch of them.
Yeah,
like, it's a really, really cool card. I made like I was speaking of your deck too. I made Marcus the Mutant Mare. I finally found it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's just like a straight counters theme deck. This set gave us a lot of fun stuff for it. Speaking of this set giving us fun stuff, Peerless Recycling is one of my new favorite cards. I just love this recursion. It's 1 and a green. You gift a card, again, they draw. Return target permanent from your graveyard to your hand if the gift was promised. Instead, return 2. That's so good.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this one. Then we've got... Oh, I love this card as well. Perch Protection. 4 double white. You can gift an extra turn. Create 4 2/2 bluebird creature tokens with flying. If the gift was promised, all permanents you control phase out, and until your next turn, your life total can't change, and you gain protection from everything. And then exile Perch Protection.
That's such a cool card.
And like that, honestly, is probably some of my favorite art on any Magic card ever.
Did you, if you haven't, great spot to plug it. If you haven't listened to my other podcast, Lorebound Legends, we're doing the Bloomburrow stuff right now, and we're talking about like the Calamity Beast. We went and like did like a general of it, and like knowing the story of like these things and how these little critters had to like fight back has made me fall in love with every piece of artwork that is like the Calamity Beast like adjacent, because like you said, it's just such it's such cool artwork. Like knowing again that these like little birds are trying to like fight off like a big like cinder wolf like on fire. It's really such a cool story, and again, shamelessly self-plugging. Go check it out. But yeah, the also gift an extra turn is hilarious. Yeah. That's really, really funny to we've all been in games where people are talking trash and they blah blah blah. If I get one more turn, I can win. It's really fun to say, all right, do it. Show me what you got. Yeah, exactly. And then you riot control next and prevent all combat damage and wreck the game for them. Hilarious. We have a return to nature, just again, simple removal. 1 and a green, you destroy target artifact, target enchantment, or exile a card from a graveyard. Again, it just hits a lot of boxes.
Yep, it has mice in it.
It does have mice in it. That is, just so you know, I like that you've figured out the theme of what I tried to add. Most things are Bloomburrow adjacent.
Yeah.
I'm a simple man.
Next up, we do have the riot control. 2 and a white. Gain 1 life for each creature your opponents control. Prevent all damage will be dealt to you this turn.
I like that.
Yeah.
The all to you is nice. I put in as well as safe passage, because again, people are going to want to hurt me for drawing so many of my cards and holding so many. We've got our safe passage, 2 and a white. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to you and creatures you control this turn. I like to save my creatures. The rabbits need help.
Exactly. Oh, I sound like a broken record. I love this art.
The artwork in the Bloomburrow, it's so good.
It really is. But we got a Swords to Plowshares. Single white, exile target creature, controller gains life equal to its power. You all know and or love it. I love it a bit more now because of that little bunny. Yeah.
The artwork is cool. The flavor text, the same muscles you use to swing a sword can be used to feed a burrow, is also awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I really like those. I really, really like the stupid cards I've put in this list. We've got a Verdant Rebirth, 1 and a green. Until end of turn, target creature gains. When this creature dies, return it to its owner's hand. That is really, really nice to make friends with and draw a card. It does a lot of what we want to do, but you can really, really change the trajectory of a game by simply saving someone. That's a lot of alliteration, but by saving something people want to keep back, right? Like for a player like Brian, if you save their Seedborn, it's really easy to become friends with, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's useful for us. It's useful for other people. Yeah, I think that might be... sorry.
Really...
I do have a Rainbow Veil, too. That was another one to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, so Rainbow Veil, it taps 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, and then you pass it to an opponent at the end of the turn. I really like that card. I like to group hug. The only other thing important in the list is a reliquary tower. And then I think we've got, I'll do the one planeswalker. We'll hit our sorcery, and then we're out of here. Well, then we'll talk our other list quickly too. But so planeswalker, easy. Jace Belrun. It is 1 double blue. It's a 3 loyalty planeswalker. +2 each player draws a card, which is phenomenal. Again, what we want. -1 target player draws a card. We're never going to trigger that. And -10 target player puts the top 20 cards of their library into the graveyard. We're probably not going to do that either. We're just party Jason to the end of time.
Absolutely. And nobody's going to want to attack him because everybody's just drawing cards.
Exactly. That's what it's for. You take us away into our sorceries here. Again, very weird that they didn't put any of these in the deck. In the group hug deck. They've never made a deck themed specifically for group hug, and they're like, you're not getting collective nothing.
You get what we give you, and you'll be happy with it.
Yeah. You have Colonian Hydra.
Yeah, the first sorcerer. Yeah. We've got Collective Voyage. It's a single green. You got Join Forces. Starting with you, each player may pay any amount of mana. Each player searches their library for up to X basic land cards, where X is the total amount of mana paid this way, puts them onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffles their library.
Yeah, that's just a good card.
It makes sense to be in a group hug deck.
Right? We have our Cultivate, because I'm a simple man and put Cultivate in nearly every deck. It's 2 and a green. You search your library for 2 basics, reveal 1 to the battlefield tapped, and 1 into your hand, then shuffle. I like it. The artwork, again, like you said, broken record, but take it away.
Yeah, I love this artwork as well. But we got a Farseek, 1 and a green. Search library for a plains, island, swamp, or mountain. Put it on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. For most animal folk, Valley is a paradise, but among some adventurers, the promise of somewhere else is just as captivating.
Oh, I love it so much.
Oh.
In the plane of Bloomburrow, Valley is where it where they are. That's the name of the place is Valley. So yeah, I really just like this. Yeah, it's not, the plane isn't Bloomburrow, or well, the plane is Bloomburrow, but the place they are in the plane is Valley. I like it. It's just one big huge valley because they're all so small. They're all just little small guys. This artwork makes me like think of all those like "This Is Me If You Even Care" by the way memes of like it's just like a little cat like you're a 25-year-old man. I love the artwork. It's the first set for a while that I've felt as magic, and I've just been in love with every part of this art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely been a really nice and refreshing step back.
Yeah, right. Like I didn't enjoy Cowboy Hat adventure magic. I didn't really enjoy that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We have our Peer's Whim, again another group hug card, which I don't know why it wouldn't be in there. 3 and a green. For each player, you choose a friend or a foe, and this is a great choice for them. For each friend, they search for a land, put on the battlefield tapped, any land, that's great. And each foe sacks an artifact or enchantment they control. Yeah, I got nothing bad to say about that one.
No, not at all. Then we've got Rousing of Souls, 2 and a white. It's got Parlay. Each player reveals the top card of their library. For each non-land card revealed this way, you put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield, and then each player draws a card.
It's a good card.
Yeah.
I put Secret Rendezvous in too many decks too, but I also just like that card. I like to make deals. I like to make friends. 1 double white, you and target opponent each draw 3 cards. You can't really go wrong with something like that. A 3 draw for 3 is great. A 3 draw for 3 and white is great. And I don't really care about other people. Like so many people thread assess on like, I don't want to give my opponents resources, right? But I am a confident person, and I think I generally build better than most people. So I don't care if other people get their stuff. Other people play with like 38 lands, animals. You go ahead and you draw with that ratio. Up to you. You know, like I generally don't. I'm confident in my deck building. They're going to draw it regardless. So if I can draw 3, it's accelerating my game plan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're just kind of forwarding your stuff and they're tagging along a little bit.
Right.
Next one we've got here is Step Between Worlds. 3 double blue. Each player may shuffle their hand and graveyard into their library. Each player who does draws 7 cards and exiles Step Between Worlds. And it has plot for 4 double blue.
It's nice to be able to just, you know that you want to refill your hand later on, so you play it on a different turn, and you can then trigger your things. I like Step Between Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
We have our Sylvan Scrying, which is in this deck going to fetch either that Rainbow Veil to group hug hard, or our Reliquary Tower, because Reliquary Tower is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I guess Sylvan Scrying. It's you search your library for land, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. I should say what it does.
Oh, I'm glad I got this next card.
I can't even explain how many copies of this card I want.
Right. We've got Tempt with Bunnies. 2 and a white. You get Tempting Offer. Draw a card and create a 1/1 white rabbit creature token. Then each opponent may draw a card and create a 1/1 white rabbit creature token. And for each opponent who does, you draw a card and create a 1/1 white rabbit creature token.
It's such a good card. It's such silly artwork. It's such a good card. I love a Tempting Offer. You can't go wrong with this.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that,
exactly.
They did at least put this one in, Tempt with Discovery, with just such cool artwork. Oh, I love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Our Tempt with Discovery is a 3 and a green. Another Tempting Offer. I cannot talk today. I'm very tired. You search the library for a land card and put it onto the battlefield. Each opponent may search their library for a land and put it onto the battlefield. For each opponent who searches the library this way, you get an extra land put onto the battlefield. Then each player who searched shuffles. I don't like the whole, I'll just go get a strip mine. Like, have fun. I'm trying to help you out and stuff. I'm already going to get my best land and stuff like that. If you guys want to do that, like everyone says all the time, we'll just search for strip mines. How many people are playing strip mines in a deck? Is that a normal card in your deck?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I'm not normally packing strip mines because I like the people I play the game with.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
like if I were to search with this one, I'd be kind of the same thing as with Sylvan Scrying, finding Rainbow Veil.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm going to fetch generally, or I'm just going to get 4 basics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no like strip mines, no Field of the Deads or anything like that.
True. Yeah, like it just I don't know. And again, if you can go get your Field of the Dead, why complain about that? Go get your land you want. Right?
Yeah.
I just don't get
if you can.
Yeah. I don't know. Some people just like to not have fun.
Yeah. But our final sorcery here, and I will say it one more time with this deck list, I love this art. We've got Wear Down. 1 and a green, you can gift a card. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. If a gift was promised, instead destroy 2 target artifacts and or enchantments.
I really like that. I wish that was instant. I would take that deal every day. Again, the gifted card is still such a cool mechanic on it because you don't have to give it. Like if I want to blow up Slothy's enchantments, I don't have to give the card to Slothy. I can just give it to someone else and be like, also, get your trash out of here.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to be nice and give the card to the person you're targeting.
Right. We do have a few extra minutes here, so I wanted to. Oh, you go ahead first. Say what you wanted to say.
Is Timbles the beaver?
Timbles is the beaver, and I every time I see it, I'm like, we need a legendary Timbles card. Please, Timbles.
We need a Timbles. As somebody who lives in Canada, I feel like that's kind of a necessity.
Yeah, Timbles, feller of great trees.
As well.
I was going to say quickly, I'll just quickly do like a scroll through of the other lists. So like I said, there's going to be a lot of Mrs. Bumbleflower lists in the link. Usually there's like a deck list where I'm going to put at least 6 up. So the first one is my group hug deck. That's just my generic group hug one. It's fun. Then I have one called the Charming Mrs. Bumbleflower. And it's basically just a list full of more instants and sorceries. More instants, I guess, really, if you look at it. But it also is a little saltier. Like it has your Jace's Erasure, your Psychic Corrosion, Sphinx's Tutelage. Like it's another really cool list. I'm doing a quick scroll through. But I specifically went just try to put as many of the charms in. So I've got like Azorius Charm, Dawn Charm, Emerald Charm, Evolution Charm, Hope Charm, Ivory Charm. Like I put
Vitality Charm.
Yeah, I really went that way. I thought it was a fun build path. I won't dwell too much on the list because
Bumbleflower is quite charming. So
yeah, right. I want you to be able to talk a little bit about some of your lists here. So I'm going to quickly, I'm just, like I said, doing a quick scroll for the video. So if you guys want to see a quick version of the list and pause in the video, you'll be able to. But that's my second Mrs. Bumbleflower one. It's really fun. And then this is probably the next one that I'm going to talk about here is my Table Police Mrs. Bumbleflower. And it's one of my favorite lists I've played in a long time. It's obnoxious. It says that it's not salty. It's like mid salty, right median, but it's pretty obnoxious. It's a $130 deck and it's gross. You can cut it down if you get rid of like your Isochron, but it's all just things that are annoying. Your Lux Artillery just sits there and deals 10 damage to each opponent at your end step, which is great. But it's all counter spells. It's all proliferate. It's all like offer you can't refuse. It's all combat stuff. It's a really, really not nice deck to play. It has Are you seeing that list, Slothy? Look at my instance there. That's where all of them are.
I was just about to say I've known you for like 3 years now on this show for 2 of that.
Yeah.
And this is where all of your instants are.
Yeah, usually my instant sorcery section is like 7 between the 2, and 3 of them are cultivate and farseek and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's an interaction section for sure. It's pretty cancer. You've got your negate, your lots of a ton of like reject perfection, counter target spell. If it's 3 or less, you proliferate. Like it's pretty annoying, this deck list.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like this one. This one was fun to play. I also run Arenicus's Vile Duplication. I didn't have it in the main list, but it should be in every one of these. It's a card I need more of. It's a $4 uncommon, but it's 3 and a blue. You create a token that's a copy of target creature, except the token has flying and isn't legendary. I put that in every deck. Literally, just people should send me. I'll set up a PO box. Please send me Arenicus's Vile Duplications. I need them. Send it with an invoice if you have to. I need more.
Yeah, like Irenicus, and I noticed you had Quantum Misalignment in your Charms one.
Yep. Just ways to get more
awesome
copies.
Inclusion.
Oh, I know. I love it. Let's which one of your lists do you want to talk about? Because I'll scroll through all 3 of them.
Oh, let's start with 1.0.
1.0, okay. So tell while I scroll through here, you tell everyone what the theme of this one is.
This one is just kind of fun little stupid card draw. It says it's really salty, but I don't think so. Just because, we're all gonna be friends here. It kind of revolves mostly around drawing enough cards to get either like Triskaidekaphile out or 20-Toed Toad. More of like a kind of like a fun alternate win con deck, I would say.
I'm slowly scrolling through your list. You don't know why it's salty, Jinja Taxis, you monster.
I don't know why it's salty. It's just friends. Just friendly.
Damn.
Yeah, this one was not built as group hug. This was built to kind of force everybody to draw as much of their deck as they can so that they've got nothing to actually use.
I really like this list going through this. This is really cool.
Thank you. The land base I have done no tweaking with, but that should actually have some of like the pain lands and the slow lands and whatnot. Nothing too crazy.
This is a very cool deck list scrolling through, yeah. I like this one a lot. You've got Wind Jace in it, you've got your Windfalls. This is a very, very cool list. It's so different from the direction of like any of mine, like the lack of overlap. Even I love seeing how other people build stuff, because the like Edric, Spymaster of Trust, that's such a cool card in a deck like this, right? Because it's still pretty group huggy, right? The same with Glunch. I need more copies of Glunch. Guahafazid, you never see that. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, this one is it's a lot of fun. But people will stop liking you very, very quickly. In all honesty. Yeah, things like Venser's Journal, Thought Vessel, Decanter of Endless Water, Folio of Fancies, bunch of stuff to make sure that you've got no maximum hand size.
Yeah.
Force Fruition to fill your opponent's hand. Jin-Gitaxis to empty your opponent's hand.
I like this one. This is a nice
about,
one.
About it for the first one there.
Which one next?
About $250.
Yeah, not a horrible budget again for a bunch of ones we've been building lately have been pretty budget. Like you can my normal Mrs. Bumbleflower $311. My charming one is $246. Again, a fairly pricey one. And my Table Police one's $137. Yeah. It's pretty budget. But $250 is not a crazy budget for a functional and fun to play commander deck. Yeah,
exactly. And I mean, if you want to get like cut down on the budget at all with this deck, Everybody Lives is $16. You can cut that out.
You've got
another good spot to plug.
Abyss Proxy. Yeah, please take it away.
You could also go on over to Abyss Proxy Shop using code IT99 to save some money on this Everybody Lives, or Kinnan is also up there. Other than that, there's really not that much that's super expensive in this one. But yeah, go check out Abyss Proxy Shop.
Yeah, definitely a good spot to get it. And also AI armors. All of mine are in this bloomburrow sleeves. I've got I've got 3 of the same ones. It's really cool. I want to get a bunch of the AI armor sleeves keep like going good. They've got like the skull one. I want to change all of my, like, you remember my big slime against humanity deck where it's like I share all the slimes between one deck. I want to change them over into those sleeves pretty bad. I think they're pretty cool. But let's scroll through our second last list here. Which one? I chose just your Mrs. Bumbleflower.
Sure, that works. This one's kind of like a slightly higher budget version of the 1.0. This one comes in around $437. Big differences here. We've got our Consecrated Sphinx.
Yeah, you can see
the land base is a bit better.
Yeah, and some more just expensive cards, expensive versions kind of thing. I like that you got the title Barracuda too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Honestly, as well, on the trail, I was just going to say on the trail, like that's one that it's not in my original list, and it should have for sure been put into the normal Mrs. Bumbleflower list. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, you can put a land from your hand on the battlefield tapped. That's such a good card. You really do need to. That's almost an auto include in Mrs. Bumbleflower list. It's in both of my other ones. 2 out of 3, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I also love that.
Yeah, it is such a good card.
I love that Ristic artwork.
Right? Oh, that's not even the one that I've got for this one.
Yeah, the Zamon and Rutha one is a really cool one. I really like that. I love everything Strixhaven. Which one? Do you have a different artwork?
Yeah, I've got this one. Where are you? There you are. This one.
Oh, like just the normal one?
Just the normal foil one.
That's fair. Nice little flex. I get it.
Yeah.
Again, a pretty cool list though. A nice instant section. I like that you kept the gift an extra turn one, even in the high budget one. It's such a fun card.
It is such a fun card, and I don't own it to Teferi's Protection, so.
Teferi's Protection's boring. I want to give people
all
extra turns
from under me.
True.
Exactly. Yeah, this one's pretty similar. Trouble in Pairs made it into this version, which kind of works with Perch Protection. Actually, I wasn't thinking about that when I put it in there, but
that's fun. They get nothing.
Yeah.
Again, also saving yourself and making 4/2/2 birds at 6 mana is pretty good.
Oh, absolutely.
I really want the for that Kestel, the new bird commander. I really want to put another Perch Protection in that one. I think it's really cool.
Okay, yeah.
I like your deck direction with this one. And then what is your last Mrs. Bumbleflower?
Sweet. My third one, I went more of a +1/+1 counters theme. And so it's got things like the Simic Ascendancy is in this one. Inexorable Tide, Thrumming Bird, stuff that proliferates, Voral. This one's more of make things big and then start stomping.
Yeah, I like this. Let's see what we've got in our list here while I scroll. Ozlith, too good.
Yeah.
Yeah, this seems pretty cool. I like the I like the more 1/1 counter theme stuff, right? Like your things entering with more. I like that you use the Burk, put a 1/1 counter on each up to 2 creatures. Whenever a creature with 1/1 on it doubles the number of 1/1 counters. Burk's so good.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like,
I don't see Denry enough either.
They really no. There's a lot of those. I find a lot of the weird ones from New Capenna kind of get overlooked by a lot of people.
New Capenna just had so much good stuff.
Like myself included. I think this is yeah. I think I forgot about this commander until I built this deck.
Yeah.
And then was like, oh, wait a minute. But yeah, this one's like really simple. Make things big, stomp.
Like you said, lots of proliferate, lots of counters matter.
Extra card draw on your opponent's.
Yeah, a good spot to actually have a Colonian
extra
Hydra.
Card draw on your opponent's doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I
like if they wanted to make it like a +1/+1 theme pre-con, that's fine, but don't advertise it as group hug.
I wanted to say the Exotic Orchard from Bloomburrow as well. That artwork is so cool. But I love that flavor text. When you can't find your way home, find home where you can.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I loved all of it. They did a good job with Bloomburrow. I'm probably going to do like an episode on why I think Bloomburrow did so good. But yeah, that'll be the list that I put into our thing. We've got we got a lot of them. We've definitely been brewing these for a bit. So we were talking. We're like, how should we do this episode? Like, should we just back and forth it? Should we deck tech it? Like, so I want to make sure everyone's got a chance to see these. I'll probably keep if I keep scanning through my Mrs. Bumbleflower list, you guys will be the first to see it in the updated stuff. And yeah, come over to I'll roll our outro there. Where's my button? If you like what we're doing, come over to Patreon and come chat with us. It's a great spot to build these decks. If you don't feel like doing that, like, share, subscribe. It really, really does help us out. Thank you again for everyone who does listen every episode and reach out. It means a lot. I love when people, if I make a mistake in the comments, definitely correct me. Like with the class things, that was really cool to learn. And I should know that. I should know a little bit better. Again, AI armor for the sleeves. They're just the best sleeves you can get, and they have the best stuff for the bloomburrow things as well. Abyss proxy shop for your expensive stuff. Don't break the bank trying to have fun. And if you need a few cards that are missing or you can't find, great spot. Promo code IT99. That both those links are in our bio there too, and in the show notes. All these deck lists will be in the show notes. Again, just thanks to everyone who in any way supports it. Like everyone who's over on Patreon, I appreciate all you guys. That's great. It's very fun to build decks. We've got some cool like live brew stuff coming up with one of our patrons. So, and our buddy too. Good guy. So I'm excited to do that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Am I missing anything? Oh yeah, into99.com. All our content's there.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Oh, and sorry for our small audio delays here and stuff. It should be mostly fixed in the episode, but you guys will see. I'm just scrolling through the video now. But yeah, like I said, it should be mostly fixed for the podcast part. We'll sort it out. Internet out here has been bad lately. That's it. Have a good weekend. Thanks everyone for getting through it. Oh, and Sherman's also Sherman's
listening. See you guys later.
I was gonna say as well, Sherman's not dead. He's on vacation.
Yeah, Sherman's taking some much needed rest.
Yeah, right. He never does. Okay, bye for real.
Yeah.